Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is going to be the first of many times where I interview a person or a couple together talking about marriage and the importance of marriage in a society. So this is episode 1, and today I have my mother as the special guest.
Yeah.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I'm going to be asking my mother a few different questions here about marriage and about her experience in marriage. Now, my father obviously is not here as he passed away 13 years ago, but they had a beautiful marriage, is what people said to me. I was young, didn't get to watch them perform in their marriage a lot of times because of how young I was, but people have told me that they had a wonderful marriage and they looked up to them while they were married. So we're going to ask 4 different questions here, and my mother is going to answer. So the first question is, how long were you married?
Was married for 17 years.
17 years, that's pretty amazing, especially in today's society, as so many marriages fail within the first 10 to 15 years. So that's magnificent, and I'm positive 100% that they still would have been married to this day if my father were living, which would have made, I believe, 33 years.
And I will correct that. I think I should say 16 and a half. So
Okay.
he passed in January, and then that May coming would have been 17. So yeah.
Okay. What was the most difficult thing you faced in your marriage, and how did you get through it?
So I will say one of the most difficult things was during the season that he got sick, leading up to the death. So he had never been a sickly person at all. Very healthy, very strong and robust, never really missed work or anything. So that morning that he was about to go to work and was hit with that severe pain, and that was really the very start of that journey, that 1.5 year long journey of him being sick, chronically sick, and then leading to death. So because in that time, excuse me, not only being sick and then realizing how sick he was, but also we had financial situations at that time as well, because he was able to get some disability for a short period of time, but then it got to where we had really no income. So those 2 things together, but we pulled through it together.
And you kind of go into more detail of what the sickness was and how the sickness in detail affect, because different things that you go through, different sicknesses you go through can affect your marriage or the family a different way. So what was the sickness, and how did that affect?
Right. Well, it started out, we thought, just kidney trouble. We didn't know if it was kidney stones at first or just kidney trouble. So we were doing the things that, would help with that. But as it progressed, we found out that it was cancer. So it was kidney cancer, which spread to liver and lung. So that's what it was.
Okay. So when it came to, the financial problems and him, dad not being able to work, what was your reaction to that, and how did that kind of, how did you all, come together and get through that,
Yeah, well, at first it was hard because we had always had an income.
Okay.
We had never been at a place where laid off and didn't have any income coming in. So fortunately, I was blessed to have a mom that taught me very, very good budgeting skills.
And I got tired very, very good listening. But go ahead.
So, and then as a Christian, just that trust in God that He will provide and take care of you. But I was very conscientious not to waste money at that time or spend money for things that we really didn't need. So as I was trusting God, the way that He provided for us was many in the church knew the situation and they were just helping. We weren't asking for anything. They would just give us envelopes of cash, envelopes of money. And so as it came in, I just paid the bills as it came in. And we did get to one point where I was not able, and this only happened one time throughout that whole, I think we had a little to go on for the first few months, but then after that, we didn't have anything. So I used the money that was given and just paid the bills as it came, and God just made a way so to pay every bill. But there was a time when I was not able to pay the trash bill, and then I wasn't able to pay because I would prioritize house payment first, then electric, then gas, and back then you really didn't have to have a cell phone anyway, so right. So that was kind of low on the list. But I think at that point I thought, well, it's probably time. I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of you all, and at that time maybe it's time for me to just go on and get a job. But because he was so sick, the ministers in the congregation, they encouraged me to just continue to stay at home. But they saw to it that I was given an allotment to work with finances. So
wow,
yeah.
And I think that is for people watching. I think that this is definitely a story that you can learn from, because in the vows, it actually points out sickness and in health. There's been a lot of couples I've heard personally of stories or seen it online that couples, one gets sick, the other one's off somewhere, somebody else's house, having intimacy or with them, or they're off, cheating or flirting with other people because their significant other is sick. So I think that this is really a great takeaway of how my mother just stay right by my father's side. And there's a lot of couples, especially nowadays, that they would not do that. She was there 100% of the time, wanted to, help my father in every way that she possibly could. That's love right there. And that's where the vows really comes in. A lot of people say the vows because you're supposed to say it on that wedding day, but they don't mean a lick of it when it comes down to it being a difficult and hard situation. And that's why that's why I really took the vows seriously, and my mother really taught me that, not from her saying that, but from the experience that my father and her went through. And I, Lord help me that I can, hold to those vows if something like that were to come upon my wife and I. But that is a phenomenal example right there of how you can journey throughout a marriage and those vows actually come true. It's not just in health. It's easy in health, but how hard is it in sickness? And that's just a great example right there of what my mother went through. So moving on to question 3, why do you believe marriages are failing today?
It's something that is one of the questions, because Pastor Lee,
right,
one of the pastors from we fellowship with in Jackson, Michigan, you growing up in the church and everything, he
right.
just had a session on marriages, and that came up. So I think that one thing that he pointed out, he was very detailed in this, but he was saying there are 3 types of marriages, and I don't remember the exact wording that he said, but basically the struggling marriage, and then the marriage that's just surviving, and then the marriage that's thriving. So it's very essential that you find yourself in that bracket of the marriage that's thriving. So really loving one another, being in love, and your partner being your very best friend. And that is what we had, and that's what I wanted. I wanted,
True.
you know, you're spending your lifetime with them. So I wanted someone that I could feel that was my best friend, that I look forward to them coming home.
True.
You know, miss them when they're gone. You know, I remember when he took a trip and went to California, and I had wanted to go with him, but it didn't work out. And it's so like this dread, he's gone for 3 or 4 days. Whereas in
Right.
that struggling marriage, it's like, oh, he's gone, woo. You know?
Right.
So,
Right.
and if it's not there, you know, if somehow you can work together so that it can become that, that's very vital. So I think too, just a lack of maturity, you know, and sometimes people marrying for the wrong reasons.
True.
Maybe marrying because everybody else is marrying, or feeling like they're going to get left out, or if I don't grab him, I'm not going to get anybody. And so marrying for the wrong reasons could be a reason as well. And then just being prepared, you know, getting counseling, and really being knowledgeable of everything that you're going to deal with in marriage, finances, children, you know, the differences in how you were raised, your family, all of those things are components in that. And so, and I think in our society today, we are definitely living in a society where it's so easy to just give up. Whether it's a job, you're having problems on the job, you know, just quit, go get another job.
True.
You know, it could be, you know, friendships. You know, she did this, we ain't gonna be friends no more.
Oh, that's
you
true.
know, you have an issue at church. Okay, I'm done with this church. I'm not gonna go at all, or I'm going somewhere else. You know, so that whole mentality has just really taken control in society today, and it's definitely affecting the marriages, and also the fact that people do not have good examples to look up to, whether not just their own marriage, but if they see failing marriages in their community, failing marriages in church. You know, my aunt's getting a divorce, and it's no big deal. And the fact that so many people don't even want to get married, they're fine with just living together.
Right.
But I've always said, even to my coworkers, if they're good enough to be with and to give yourself to, then they're worth committing yourself to them in marriage.
Man,
so.
that's deep. Yeah, that my mother, I mean, this is where I get it from. You know, things I say on this channel and whatnot. That's one of the things it stems from is the teachings of my mother. Things she said there were just phenomenal. I mean, just named so many great reasons, and this is something we really need to focus on as a society, because marriage is just so very important. It is the most important aspect of a society, in my opinion. So the thing she named is just so true. And there's one thing that I also want to name as well, is that too many times people go into marriage and they are allowing the word and the action divorce be an option in their marriage.
Yes.
It is not supposed to be even an option. You're not even supposed to even talk about it unless you're demising it. Divorce shouldn't even be an option. Shouldn't even be talked about. Shouldn't even be an option. Because that vow to made death do us part. So, man, if you haven't gained something from this video already, you just weren't listening. But we do have one more question here. What is the greatest piece of advice you would give married couples or couples striving to get married?
Be in love. Make sure that you are in love with that person, and then be willing to give them your all, 100%.
Wow.
Be willing that if they do struggle or fail somewhere down the line, you have their back. You know, you're not running around talking about them and giving up on them, but you still love them just as much when they were being good and faithful to you. And some of the things I've already mentioned, you know, marrying for the right reason, getting married counsel is not to go into unadvisedly.
True.
So those would be the things that I would encourage, and then grow to learn your mate. Because in a courtship, you only learn so much. So as time is passing
True.
by in your marriage, learn them. The 5 Love Languages, that book was written by Gary Chapman. When that came out, I think we maybe had been married, maybe 5 or 6 years, but that was phenomenal because I was trying to show love the way I understood love, but we have to know what that person's love language is so that we can satisfy them and please them, and vice versa.
True.
So, and now one of the things I never ever told him, but my husband bought flowers often for different things. Now that wasn't necessarily something that was big to me. It wasn't, but he thought it was, and I never said anything. But I appreciated that because I knew it came out of love. But you grow and you learn, and so I think for young couples today, learning, getting the book and reading it and talking about it, and then learning each other's love language. And then once you know that love language, then endeavor to love them the way that they feel loved. So that's very important. And just get closer to one another and love one another, and communication. I don't know how I didn't say that, but communication, that is so important. Because it's not wrong. As women, it is important for us to be, and I know that's a whole nother topic, but it is important to be submissive. Somebody's got to be in charge. And so if the man, but in turn, he's to love you, and then it can be really sweet. And you don't really mind because you know that they have your best interest at heart. But communication is so key. So in that, being a submissive wife does not mean that you can't communicate and express your feelings. You can. You have to do it at the right time and in the right way. And so, I remember one night there was something we just weren't seeing eye to eye. And I remember we stayed up until 4 a.m. till we got that thing talked out and understood. So communication is so vital, so important.
That's just unheard of in today's society. That right there is real. That's a real marriage right there. When you can stay up, might even have to work the next day. You can stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning because you know that if you go to sleep without talking that thing out, and something were to happen to one of the ones in the middle of the night.
True.
But to talk that thing out, that is beautiful. One thing that I want to say is about this. I'm going to just add something real quick here, and then we'll be done. But giving the piece of advice to couples that's married or wanting to be married, one thing that I can say is learn how to be, learn how to apologize and to forgive. Learn how to apologize.
Yes, that's
I actually can remember a time where something happened. I don't remember what it was, but something happened. I think it was around the time my father was sick. Something happened. And it was in the morning. And my father lined all of us up. And he was sitting in a recliner, I think, and even in pain, I think. And he apologized to all of us.
That brings
He
tears
apologized to my wife.
eyes.
To my mother, to his wife. But that right there, that is rare. And then the animosity starts. But then the one apologized, the other one can't forgive.
Right.
And then that's going to just keep building up in that person's heart. Grudge being held against. Don't even want to go on dates no more because that thing just festering in your heart. But apologizing and forgiving is so imperative in a marriage. But that I want to kind of piggyback off of what my mother said. But that was the interview for today. I thank my mother so much for joining this interview. She is a very knowledgeable person, especially about this subject. I think that she should talk more about it, but to more young, especially younger couples. But anyway, this interview was amazing. If you didn't take something from this interview, like I said, you just weren't listening. My mother is a very, like I said, knowledgeable person, so I appreciate her for joining the interview. Thank you so much for you all watching. There'll be more episodes coming. Next, I believe I'm going to have an actual couple come and I'm going to interview them. And we're just focusing in on this marriage topic because this is very passionate to me. I actually want to, begin to, later on in my life, help married couples. I want to go around the country holding seminars and talking to married couples or couples that want to be married, because our society is suffering greatly because of the lack of marriage, the lack of the traditional marriage. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Please like this video. Please comment on this video. Any thoughts you have, please subscribe, turn on post notifications so you can be notified anytime I drop a video on the Titus Beard podcast.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.